What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Mindset Mutiny. I am your host, Mike Ivanov. Today, we're going to talk about my origin story. I think it's important before you listen to anybody or get to know anybody, you know where they come from, you know where their energy is generated from, and you kind of know the origin story in a way, right? So we're going to talk about that. Today, my origin story starts with me playing hockey. At 2 years old, I started skating, and up until like 18 years old, that's all I ever did with my life. I didn't know anything different. I didn't go to any parties. I didn't hang out with people. It was the team. It was getting better. It was pretty much studying, doing schoolwork, playing hockey, training outside of the rink to be a better hockey player. It was my identity. It was everything I knew. We didn't do anything else, right? Totally committed to the team, totally committed to the sport. It was my whole life. What's tough about that is, that ends. Can't be a hockey player forever, right? It's a short little window. And there's a very low success rate to become a professional doing so. So for me, that was just who I was. And then later on in my career, I had a traumatic brain injury. Now, I had many concussions before this. Back when I was playing, there wasn't a lot of information like there is today, and I'm so happy that there's so much awareness around it because I know how this has affected my life and affected me and affected many others as well that I've actually talked to. And if you have never had a traumatic brain injury, it's hard to understand exactly how bad it fucks you up. But it can change you. It can change your personality. It can change the way your brain functions. It can give you all sorts of different issues. If you're interested in learning more about it, you can Google it and kind of research it. But it's quite terrifying. Will change your personality. Like I said, for me, it was very difficult. We can get into that in a little bit. But so I had a traumatic brain injury, and my entire life changed. Hockey was over. I'm in college. Don't know who the fuck I am because my identity is completely changed. The hockey's over. My brain is having problems. And I'm really struggling. And, I'm in college. I do what everybody told me to do. Go get a business degree, Mike. You're good at that and you're good at talking to people and blah, 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 blah. So I just do what people tell me to do. Go through college doing all the dumb shit, no idea who I am or what I want to be. Really kind of difficult. Again, it was that lack of identity, so my kind of like my physical being starts sliding because hockey was what kept me in that condition, right? Always in good shape and eating right and sleeping right and just taking care of myself, right? So when that was over, everything slid. My entire body started to really kind of lock up, just like overnight, you stop this activity level. And I became very kind of stagnant and not very active, drinking a ton and, just doing stupid shit, really. Not investing in myself and not trying to be better and whatnot. So, I graduated college, get a job, working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And one thing led to another, and it was a bad time to graduate. And just sitting here thinking, kind of reflecting as I'm talking. I came out of school thinking I was going to make a ton of money. I think my first job, I was making like $35,000 a year, cleaning cars with a suit on. Graduated in a recession. And I have nothing. I have no identity except for just trying to work. I didn't know what that even meant. I'm living in an apartment with my girlfriend, who's obviously my wife now. And my student loan payments are about as much as I'm making. So I'm like living on credit cards and setting myself back and just losing faith in the system. And that's some victim fucking shit, which I wish somebody had told me at the time. So life goes on. I'm working in an automotive shop and I get my second major traumatic brain injury. I was laying underneath a dual rear wheel dump truck, and it has, they have four wheels, and the outer wheel usually comes off pretty easy, but the inner wheel usually gets stuck on there and you have to hammer it off. So I'm laying underneath this dump truck. It's jacked up. I'm on my side and I'm smashing this inner wheel off with like a 20-pound dead blow sledgehammer. If you're familiar with it, it's a big orange hammer. It's a dead blow, so it has some like beans inside of it. So when you hit it, it doesn't bounce, right? The sledge doesn't bounce. So I'm swinging. I'm getting more tired, and I miss the rim and I hit the tire. The sledge comes back, hits me in the forehead, and I was having real issues after that. So to complicate things, I'd gone broke shortly before that, and I'm living in my mom and dad's basement with my wife. This is 2014. Wasn't my wife at the time. So I'm living in the basement. I'm broke. I can't work. And, I'm pretty fucking depressed about it. And I'm struggling with my second major brain injury. So now I'm having a real hard time, and I have nobody to talk to about it. Who are you going to talk to? Back in that day, there was not a lot of information. There wasn't any support group for this type of thing that I knew of. So I'm sitting in a dark basement every day. No identity still, right? The fuck I am. And really just no idea what to do with my life. Had a lot of time to reflect on it. Couldn't go to the grocery store. Had too much anxiety to even walk in there. Couldn't pick between a bag of chips. We didn't talk about it a lot as a family. Didn't really talk about it much with my wife either, that I can remember. And again, like, all of that is super blurry. I just knew that my personality was having a problem. I was having issues with emotions, emotional control, aggression, motivation, didn't want to do anything. Was just really lost and really confused. So time goes on, continue to try to heal, and I end up getting a job that I have now, which is, at the time I started as a service manager at a very large company, was in heavy equipment. And I started working there in 2015, still having these issues with emotional control, depression, anxiety. I wasn't telling anybody about it, just hoping that it would go away. And I wasn't even acknowledging the fact that I had had a brain injury. In fact, I never even really mentioned it to anybody until recently. Somebody sat me down and was like, hey, Mike, you need to tell your story, and you need to tell it talking about these brain injuries, because that's something that you might not be understanding as to how this could have led to the major decline that we're going to get to here. So I'm working it all the time, trying to just work on my career. That's like what my purpose is, right? That's my new identity, which I'll tell you right now, all of you out there, your job should never be your identity. It's not a healthy thing. But this is what I had to do to try to focus on something. So anyway, I start doing well. I move out, finally get back on my feet. Still in 2015, my wife and I are back out living on our own. And just got to tell you, man, I can't believe this woman is still with me and still supports me. It's a very special person. When you hear about all the things that she's been through with me, it will give you a whole new perspective on what it's like to have a partner that supports you. So maybe it's just that she believed in me for so long and knew I was capable of something, or not. But what it comes down to is she's a special person, and I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for her. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So life goes on. going through the motions, start drinking again, start trying to make these emotions disappear. I'm having emotional breakdowns. I'm breaking shit, punching holes in walls, having what I call hissy fits. We had a big walk-in closet at the time, and I would go in there and I would just start crying, and I didn't know why. I couldn't handle the smallest little issues. Now I'd go put on a face at work and just try to be the guy that everybody needed me to be. I was under extreme pressures at the time with certain people I was working with, which made it difficult. But I didn't understand that these emotional swings, this anxiety, this depression that I was dealing with was related to maybe the head injury, or that like it was something I needed to be extremely worried about and start to get some help with. I didn't tell anybody about it. I just kept kind of doing my thing. And of course, my wife was just probably extremely concerned, but didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. So how's anybody else going to know how to help me? Anyway, it was a really dark place. I guess you got to understand that when you're having problems and you're having things you can't explain, emotional swings, mood changes, aggression, you need to fucking go talk to somebody, man. I never did until it was too late. I guess that's the message that's really important to deliver. So fast forward to 2019. I'm living in the city at the time. Things are going good in my career. I'm doing a good job, making good money. Far cry from being broke in my mom's basement. But I'm in the worst mental state of my life. Everything was falling apart inside me. And I want to read you some of the symptoms. I have my journal here from that time frame. And my therapist made me, write down all the things I was experiencing. And this is this is after. So I wrote this list after the fact. So I'm going to list these off, because you need to share them with people that are struggling with anxiety, depression, things like that, because these types of symptoms, everybody experiences them one way or the other, right? I knew somebody that was having a hard time with something similar, and I shared these symptoms with them, and they were like, dude, I'm feeling that. And anybody I talk to about these issues, anxiety, depression, they all feel some sort of this. Right. So I've written this down. I use this to help others. So I'm going to use it today. So hopefully maybe you can share it with somebody. The symptoms I was experiencing, and I'm going to read them right out of the journal as they're written. Chest fluttering, heart racing, tightness in my chest, right at the bottom underneath the sternum, dizziness, hot flashes, upper and mid back extreme tension, headaches, constant worry about what was wrong with me. I'd always be waiting to feel a symptom. I'd have my hand, my fingers on my pulse all the time. Anxiousness. Everywhere I went, I wanted to leave. I couldn't be comfortable anywhere. I had muscle spasms happening all over my body. You could sit still, right? You could sit near me and you could see my chest just like, you could just see the palpitation, the fluttering or the spasm. My legs would be shaking. I'd always have an exhausted mind. I'd have a feeling of helplessness that never seemed to go away. I was never comfortable just being. I could feel my heartbeat in my back all the time. I could feel my heartbeat in my ears. My lip would twitch. I would feel a fluttering or a gurgling type of feeling in my trap. My chest would buzz. My forearms would buzz. My hands and fingers would be numb. And my eyes would always twitch. I thought at the time, because I was driving myself to the hospital often with these issues, and they would tell you everything's fine. Heart's fine, body's fine, Mike, everything is good. And they'd ask me, do you have anxiety? And I would deny it because I thought it was weak to admit those types of things. So instead, what my mind did was created some sort of thought that something else was wrong. So I believe that I had some sort of MS or that I had a brain issue, right? I told you I had some traumatic brain injuries, and this is what really scared me, because if you read about those, you can have some real fucking problems later on in life. So I tried to not think about that, and that's really the reason that I've kind of denied it for so long and not talked about it, because when I was in my worst, I didn't want to admit that there could be some sort of relation there. I also thought that maybe I had some sort of nervous system problem that nobody could figure out, or a major heart issue, or some sort of degenerative brain disease due to whatever head injuries I had had. That's what I thought was wrong. So I'm gonna close the journal up, and we'll get started into the hard shit, right? So all this is going on every single day. I'm going to work, putting on a good face. There's times I'm closing my office door and I'm fucking sitting in my office crying. Just sitting there fucking sobbing, don't know what to do. My entire body and mind is rioting against me. It was terrifying. I wasn't talking to anybody about it. I wasn't being a good partner. I was dead inside. I didn't want to be there. Didn't want to live. And that was really scary. But I just kept making the appearances. Kept hoping that it would get better, but there was so much bad shit going on, man. Like, I can tell you right now, I couldn't sleep. I wouldn't eat. I'd lay on the floor thinking I was dying. Like I said, multiple trips to the hospital. I'd drive myself there, blowing fucking red lights, flying through intersections, fully believing I was going to fucking die. And then I'd get there and everything would be fine. I was so fucked up. And it's hard to even recall it, and to sit here by myself and talk about it is very difficult, because I'm sure it'd be much better if somebody would ask me questions about it, but I just feel like I have to sit here and kind of reflect on it and share with you just kind of as it comes to my mind. So it got so bad that I started figuring out how I was going to take my life. Like, I was planning it. And I was planning it in a way that hopefully it wouldn't impact the people that I love as bad as it does when people have that happen to somebody in their family or somebody that they love. I didn't want my family to find me, but I knew that it was something I had to do. My brain was that fucked up where I believed that that was the right thing to do. So I built up the courage to do it. I knew I was going to take care of it. Made sense to me. I just couldn't break the cycle. I mean, I was wet in the bed, man. Like, my nervous system was so fucked up. I'd wake up either soaking wet from sweat, or a couple times I remember pissing the bed as a grown-ass man. I don't know about you, but having to wake your partner up at 2 or 3 in the morning and tell them that they got to get up because you pissed the bed, it's a hard place to be, man. It's hard for me to even say it. That was the life I was living. And I never thought it was going to end. That's why I thought I had to end it myself. Got so bad. 10/19 to 2019, I told my wife I was going to take my life. It was on an anniversary trip. We were in the Hamptons. I should have been happy. And I fucking dropped this shit on her. I told you she was a supportive partner. And you can see now what that person has gone through. And we still don't talk about it together. So I told her. She looked me in the eye. She told me she loved me. And she said, we're going to get through it together. That moment changed my life. That was the point where I started to rebuild. I saw a therapist who I still see, the same person. Then I started doing the work. Started figuring out why that happened to me. It was the scariest fucking thing I've ever been through in my life. My brain had decided for me. It made sense, dude. I can't even tell you, and I need to share it with you because a lot of people don't make it out the other side. You know, there's like 500,000 men that took their life in the United States like last year. 500,000. You know, so there's people struggling with this, and I understand it. I made it out the other side. I survived. So I have to tell this story. I have to help others. This is the story I told in front of 6,000 people on stage on May 15th. This is the story. This is why when you meet me now, you wonder where the energy is coming from. You wonder why I'm doing this, why I'm doing Mindset Mutiny. This is why. I figured out the way to rebuild myself from the bottom, from the worst place of my life, from the worst place of everybody's life. If you're that low, I don't think it gets any worse. So we moved on from that day, and I started a total war against the guy that I used to be. I was going to kill that motherfucker because he was weak. There were so many things I hated about myself. And that's why I got to that point. I was fat. I was going bald. I had no confidence. I remembered the guy I used to be, but I just didn't think I could ever get back to that guy. So I started giving up. And then my mind held on to that. And it just started making it worse. What I needed was movement. So I remember reading David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me. I remember shutting the cover of that book and saying to myself and making a decision that I was going to change everything about me. I wrote down every doubt, every bit of fear, every insecurity that I have as a human being, and went to fixing it. It's that simple. When you have to look death in the face, you realize there's nothing that you can't do when you come out the other side of that. I'm an absolute fucking machine now. It's taken me 5 years of relentless work on the doubts, the fears, the insecurities to build the machine that I am today. And I will tell you, sitting here today, I will tell you that that moment, wanting to take my life, was the best thing to ever happen to me. The best thing. And that's what I want people to understand, that you can let a trauma like that define the rest of your life, and you can use it as an excuse, because a lot of people will allow that from you. They will. If I was walking around telling people, yeah, you know, my life's really hard and I had this really bad time, you know, people would excuse that if I told them what it was. I wasn't going to live like that. I wasn't going to live like a victim. I was going to use it for fuel, and I was going to accomplish everything in life that I ever wanted, and I was not going to let doubt, fear, and insecurity hold me back. I call it the war map. That's what I built. And I am proof that it works. It's what I teach in my one-on-one coaching. Movement saved my life. I got out of my head and into my body. Started riding bikes. Riding bikes turned into wanting to get back into shape. I wanted to look good. I didn't want to be fat anymore. I wanted to like the guy I saw in the mirror because I hated that motherfucker. You can get on my Instagram. You can see pictures of how I looked before versus how I look now, and there is quite a difference. And the only change was in the mind. People like to think the body changes, and then that's where the confidence comes from. This doesn't happen in that order. The mind changes, and then the physical body changes. Because you find that way to enforce discipline on your own mind. It stops running the show. You run the fucking show. So I try to tell everybody, you know, when I sit on here and I talk about this shit, this is where it's coming from, man. I know it works. It saved my life. Every single episode that I have built is all things that save me. When I was trying to get better, there was nothing like this for me to go to. That's why I'm building this. This is a resource book. You can go listen to my episodes. These are messages to myself. This is how I've talked to myself. This is how I've dragged myself out of the hole, out of the darkest place of my life, and built something absolutely unrecognizable from it. So I started lifting weights. I got back to the gym. Then I started running. I started challenging myself in every aspect of my life. I remember the one big thing, I started drinking a gallon of water a day. That was like the big change. It was the first thing I ever did. I said, if I can do this consistently every single day, then I can keep adding things. So that's what I did. And I grew to love the running. I grew to love the lifting. Then I decided to get my master's. I said, all right, here's another challenge. I started working on my master's. Boom, boom, boom. My body's getting healthier. My mind's getting healthier. I'm doing hard things again. That anxiety and that depression starts fading. It's still there, but instead of second to second, right, where I'm living panic attack after panic attack after panic attack, now I'm starting to understand it. I'm starting to know what it is. I'm starting to give it a name. And I'm starting to learn how to fucking beat it. You have to fight back. When I was at my lowest, I was sitting with it, allowing it to dictate. When I learned to fight back is when things started changing. I always like to tell people you have like two minds. You have the mind that knows what it needs to do, and then you have the mind that wants to try to fuck you every time it gets the chance. I know that's extreme, but that's how it felt. You know, when your own mind tries to take you out, I don't really know if there's any other way to look at it. So anyway, I just kept moving. Day to day, week to week, month to month. I kept executing. I slowly started to become a better person. And then when I saw the return on investment of myself, I went all in on self-growth. I went all in on self-growth and development. I decided I wasn't going to worry about what anybody thought about me. You know, I'd always before worried about people's thoughts and how they perceive me and how I, all that shit, all that weak bullshit. I can just remember, there were switches that were flipping. They were like, listen, man, I've been to the bottom. I've had the biggest battle of my life. I came out on top. Nobody can stop me. I'm unstoppable. My own mind tried to riot against me, and I said, fuck you. And I won. So when you face a battle like that and you win, there's no battle that can fucking stop you. That's where my energy comes from. That's where my self-belief comes from. I recreated myself. I'm living the best life I've ever lived. I'm in the best shape of my life. So I just started focusing on growing me. Some years go by, start to see some results. And the more results I get, the deeper I go. My career was still growing. Started becoming a better leader because I started realizing how to lead myself. I can tell you right now, I sit here before you today and I don't feel any insecurities. Sorry. No, there's one insecurity. I meant to say I don't feel any anxiety. I'm not depressed. And it's all because I'm taking action. Anxiety, depression is all from inaction. And I wasn't taking action in my life when I was at my worst. That was the biggest problem. But yeah, there is one insecurity that still lives. It's financial, and I think it comes from, being broke. Been broke twice. And that's a real tough one for me. That still lives in my head. So I'm fighting that one. But there are no other insecurities. The one before that was the insecurity that I couldn't defend myself when it really mattered. If someone were to come into my house and try to hurt somebody in my family, I wouldn't be able to defend myself. And I'm not talking about, having a firearm or anything like that. I'm talking about hand to hand, would I be able to defend myself? And for most of you, I think you probably share that same insecurity. If you don't, I'd like to question that. And the only reason you don't is because you're training MMA, you're training jiu-jitsu, something like that. So to fix that insecurity that I had, I started training jiu-jitsu. And I wanted to do that for 3 years, but I was so fucking scared that I put it off for 3 years. But this is about removing doubt, fear, and insecurity, okay? At all costs, to become the person that you're meant to be. That's what Mindset Mutiny is all about. When you work with me one-on-one, that's what we do. It's not for everybody. But I can tell you, the guy that's sitting here with you today, he's unstoppable. He's unbreakable, and he's undeniable. I know I can help people, and that's why I started Mindset Mutiny. Started as a podcast. Now it's turned into coaching, and it's developed into speaking. It's more than a podcast. This is my life. This is who I am. I'm not hiding. It's been so fucking hard, man. There's been so many tears. There's been so much suffering. There's been so much pain. But I want you to know that on the other side of that pain, if you can keep going, your entire life will change. I need you to know that. I never thought when I was in those darkest days that I was ever going to get out. And now I'm here before you today. An absolute fucking machine. I cannot be stopped. And I will achieve everything I've ever dreamed of and then more. I have forged the deepest self-belief. I know who I am. I trust myself at the deepest level, and I want you to do the same. I need you to share this with those that are suffering because they need to understand that I am the proof. I have it all written down. I have the journals from then to now where I've plotted the course. I said what I was going to do and I went and fucking did it. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to show other people that it's possible. I had to suffer for a reason. And the reason I believe is so that I can be here to help others. That's what this is about. And I hope that this story I'm telling you today is impactful. Because when I was at the worst, all I could think of was I'm going to write this fucking story. And it's going to be worth reading one day. It's going to help somebody. If you're out there struggling, man, I see you. I understand it. I might be at a different place in the climb than you are, but I've put in all those steps. If you need help, you need to call me. Get a hold of me. I tell this story because people see me now and they don't understand where the belief comes from. It was built. It was built from the deepest, darkest depths of my entire being. It saved my life. You need to keep going. No matter how hard it is. No matter how scary it is. You need to write those doubts, those fears, those insecurities down, and you need to start fixing them. You're the only person that can do it. Trust me, when I tell you that nobody is coming to save you, I mean it. Nobody could save me. I had to do the work. You have to do the work too. So you know where I came from. And maybe I did a good job describing the suffering. Maybe I didn't. But I hope that you can understand the emotion in my voice, and I hope that that's how you can see the pain. I am the proof. And now, June 2025, There's been so many evolutions of who I am. I have killed so many versions of myself to become the guy that I am today. The savage, the no excuses, the unstoppable, the unbreakable, the person with the most self-belief that I know that I can do anything. I know it. I believe it with every bit of my being that there is nothing on this earth that I can't do. And I just keep taking the opportunities that are coming. I keep maximizing every single day. I don't waste any time. I keep stacking the weight. I keep adding things. Running, lifting, podcasting, jiu-jitsu, coaching, reading. Trying to be the best human being in every aspect of a human being that I can be. The journey has no end. I just keep mapping it out. I keep writing it down, and I keep accomplishing what I said I'm going to accomplish. That's how you build belief. That's how you build trust. That's how you become unbreakable. You have to suffer. And I'll tell you, there's two types of suffering. You can avoid one suffering by forcing the suffering yourself. I wouldn't have had to suffer like I did if I had forced myself to suffer in other areas. If I had went and done the hard things, if I had done the running, the lifting, the jiu-jitsu, getting my master's, if I had done all that stuff before, when I was seeking comfort and I was the most unhealthy mentally that I'd ever been in my entire life, if I had done all those things, I wouldn't have had to go that deep. I wouldn't have had to suffer that hard. And that's why I try to tell people. When somebody comes up to me and tells me they're experiencing anxiety, I'm telling them like, hey, listen, it's fucking desperation time, bud. This is how you got to fix it. Because it's going to get worse if you run from it. You got to turn around, look that fucking shit in the face, say fuck you, and kill it. I buried that fucking guy a long time ago. He's dead. He's never coming back. I grieved that motherfucker for a while. There will be evolutions where you have to kill the old you. I've done it. I continue to do it. That's how you continue to progress. My mission, and what I believe I was put here to do, is to help others. Help them with these things. That's through the leadership. That's through the coaching. That's through the speaking. That's through this podcast. It's special, man. It really is. I can't believe I made it out. But there's one guy that got me out of the darkness, and it was me. So I need you to understand that person that's going to get you out of the darkness is you. Don't wait for somebody to come save you. They won't make it in time because they're not coming. I used to wait for that. No one ever came. Nobody ever came. I was going to die, man. I was going to kill myself. And I made a choice to fight, to move, to take back my life. You can do it too. You can write the story. Write one that's worth reading. You're the author. You're the main character. Do the work. Tell people where you're going. Share your scars. But most of all, you have to take action. You can't sit there. You got to get off the X, man. You got to start moving. One step at a time. And it's through chosen suffering. Go run those miles. Go move that weight. Attack everything you're scared of, even if it's the smallest things. Kill all those doubts, all those fears, all that insecurity. That's what's holding you back. You'll never become the person you're meant to be until you address that. And I know that right now, sitting here in front of you, with every bit of my being, that's what I did. That's what saved me. That's what's created the guy that I am today. I used to be ashamed of this story. I would never tell anyone. Now I'm telling all of you, and I hope that everybody gets to hear this. I hope people share this fucking shit and it helps somebody. Because it's been hard to sit here and tell you today. And if you're listening to this, go watch the fucking video. I've been barely keeping it together. I'm telling you all because I love you all. And I knew when I was fighting this shit, I knew I was going to come out and I was going to tell this story at one point. That's why I've been building. You might sit there and have listened to me and be like, yeah, it's great. Mike Ivanov's got everything great going for him. That's awesome. He can go and do jiu-jitsu and run and lift and do all these fucking things. Guess what, guys? The reason I'm doing it is because I'm afraid of fucking dying. Okay? I never want to go back to that place. I never want to be complacent ever again. I don't want to be comfortable ever again because that's what fucking almost killed me. So when you listen to this shit, I need you to understand where the fuck I'm coming from. When I tell you no excuses, I tell you because I had to stop making them or I wasn't going to be here any longer. It's not small shit. When I tell you not to make an excuse, it's not just, coming from nowhere, guys. This is where it's coming from. My intensity, that's where it's coming from. I'm living life to the fucking fullest. Every single second counts, and I'm telling you how I did it. That's the point. When this is all said and done, I have the proof written down for all of you. You can listen to the podcast. You can come work with me. One day I'm going to release all the journals so everybody can fucking see it. This is powerful shit. This is how you build a human being. I built it from zero, with nothing and nobody. And I did it so that I could show everybody it can be done. That's what kept me alive. Was that one day I knew I was going to prove it was possible. Because that's who the fuck I am.